You wouldn't build a house without a foundation, so why try to build a business without one? Grow your contracting business and grow your mind with Growth Mindset Monday.
Welcome back to Mindset Monday. Outside edition? I don't know. We are outside today, as you guys can tell. And there's a reason for this. But I'm your host, Derek Bake. Welcome to the show. We are hosting this in collaboration with Contractor Plus. I am the owner of the American Contractor Network, and as you can see here on my hoodie here, the Build Pro system. You guys know the drill. If you're here live, go ahead and drop your name, your business name, where you're from, so we can give you the good old shout out. Looks like we got Edward here, numero uno, ES Handy Services out of Florida. Welcome to the show. Michael, one of our regulars, BMF Services out of Michigan. Welcome. We got Herman Lang, Palo Blanco Builders, Utah. Ooh, Utah. You're a little chilly like me today, man. Let's see. We got Justin with All Works Handyman Services, Cheyenne, Wyoming. You guys got to be cold, man. And then we got Sean with S&M Landscaping out of Portland, Oregon. And then Daniel, another mobile office. Man, you live in that mobile office, but it's going good, man. We enjoy you being here. Happy Monday to you as well. We got William Ferris with Northeast Service Mechanical. Welcome to the show. Jesse from Jesse James Outlaw Electrical, Grantsville, Utah. Welcome. Jesse, you still got, I hope you guys are using that tagline. Coolest tagline ever. And then we've got Ryan Shemp with Divine Decking out of good old Bakersfield. Hopefully not Oildale. Bakersfield, California. Welcome to the show. So why am I outside? It's a beautiful day. That's why, just kidding. That's not why I'm outside. I'm outside because our internet is down, like completely down. And I've spent the last hour trying to figure it out. And the sucky part was, I was talking to Justin about this, was getting treated like a 5-year-old on the phone. You need to disconnect this cable. Ma'am, I've already told you I've disconnected that cable twice. Well, now you should be able to connect to the internet. Ma'am, I've told you I can't connect to the internet, which is why I'm calling you. Anyway. But it's really interesting how things in life happen, right? Because I can tell you that there's a project that we've landed in January. I think it was January 20th, we got the contract. This is for a TI improvement project here locally. The contract's for $110,000. We are mid-May, and go ahead and ask me if we've started that project. Nope, no, we haven't. We want the framing, the drywall, and the paint on this project, and we haven't started yet. How often does this happen, right? It's funny, but not funny. Coincidental, maybe, that on Thursday, we're hosting our Build Smart workshop, right? We call it Innovative Project Management. It's learning how to manage projects. But I'll tell you, the most important thing when it comes to managing projects is the fact that you have to get really good at plan B, plan C, D, E, and F. It never happens the way that you want it to. Which brings up the topic of conversation today, right? We talk a lot about mindset here, but I want to get really specific about mindset when it comes to project management, right? Managing your projects. And I want you guys to drop in the chat while I'm talking. What is your biggest issue when it comes to managing your projects? Biggest issue. Now, some of you do service work. Guess what? It's still a project. Some of you do residential remodel or new build, project. Some of you in the commercial space, you guessed it, project. And you and the government, I don't want to talk to you. Just kidding. But if you do government work, it's the same thing, right? What you notice about project management, it doesn't matter if it's a 1 hour job, if it's a 1 week, 1 month, or 1 year job. You still have to learn to manage the project. Because like I said before, there's times when everything goes sideways. I purposely last month created a hardwired connection to my modem in case there were any issues with the internet. Man, I am plugged right in, right? Eliminate that issue, that variability, that potential for things going sideways. And yet, here we are outside because that's right, things went sideways. Now, the question that we have to ask is not what if things go sideways, but what are we going to do when things go sideways? When I was working as a police officer, I think I had about 3.5 years on. And I tested for the SWAT team when I got on the SWAT team, right? And I was super excited, right? The SWAT guys are the cool guys. They get all the helmets and the heavy gear and the nice guns and the armored vehicles, cool equipment, right? Everybody likes the SWAT guys. That's who the cops call when they need heroes, right? And the firefighters, let's be real. But it was a really cool job, right? But one of the first things that I learned when I was a rookie on the SWAT team was the importance of what we called an operations plan. Now, think of an operations plan as nothing more than a project plan, right? Which basically for us listed out what's the mission. In other words, are we going to go after a bad guy? Are we going to serve a search warrant? Are we going to buy a stolen car? Like, what is the thing that we're going to do, right? The second thing that it listed was what was the role that everyone played in getting there, right? Were you driving the truck? Were you on entry? Were you on perimeter? Were you the arrest team? What were you doing? Okay. And guess what the next piece was? What's our number one backup in case plan one doesn't work? And what's our number two backup in case the other two don't work? And I remember the first time I filled one of these out, I was like, well, this is dumb. Like, here's our plan. We're just going to go do it, right? And the trainer that I had at the time goes, hey, listen, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. He goes, 99% of the time, it never goes exactly the way it's supposed to go. And I was like, what do you mean, right? And guess what? He was right. 99% of the time, it never goes exactly the way you expect it to go. And if that's the case, then why aren't we planning for the inevitable, for the inevitability of things going sideways? Okay. So you think about this and you're looking around and you're like, wait a minute, this weekend here in Utah, it rained. If you were in the mountains, it snowed. Yes. Mid-May, right? So if you were pouring concrete, or if you were framing, or if you were doing anything outside, guess what? You couldn't do it. Now, what if you had planned to do electrical or plumbing or roofing or something this week, but the trade in front of you got backed up last week? Or what if it was your project, right? And so you start to look at this thing and go, wait a minute. The reason I'm getting paid as an owner is to solve other people's problems, of which managing the project is a huge part. So we've got Joe here that says improvise, adapt, and overcome, 100%, right? But I'm gonna spiff off this in a minute. Okay. So Joe is right? You got to improvise, you got to adapt, you got to overcome. There's a thing that I learned about, again, working as a cop. It happens a lot in the first responder community, happens a lot in the medical field, but it also happens a lot as a contractor. Okay. And it's this idea of something called decision fatigue. Now, how many of you guys have heard of decision fatigue? Well, decision fatigue is exactly what it sounds like. You get too tired of making decisions. Don't believe me? When's the last time you had a really busy day, a really stressful day, and you got home and your spouse was like, what do you want for dinner? And you're like, I don't care. Or your kids are like, hey, you want to come play with me in the yard? You're like, I'm too tired, right? You don't want to make any more decisions because you've made so many decisions that you're all decisioned out, right? You can't do it anymore. And so it's an understanding of, listen, how do I eliminate as many of these little decisions as possible so that I can then take on these big decisions? Okay. Now let's walk through project management at a very high level, okay? There's 3 aspects to project management. There's what happens before the project, i.e. prep. There's managing the project, which is during, and then there's the final, which is after the project is completed. If I was to ask you, we've got 33 people on the call right now. If I was to ask you, how many of you have a project plan that you walk through on every single one of your jobs? How many of you could say yes? Drop it in the comments. I have a project plan, whether I'm replacing the shower door, the glass shower door on a master bedroom, or I'm replacing a roof, or I'm building a new home. How many of you have any type of a project plan? Remember, there's 33 of you here, so I'm curious to see. If you do, go ahead and drop a yes, a thumbs up. Give me some notification that you have a project plan. Because this is what I'll tell you. Your ability to plan properly will prevent, as we like to say, piss poor performance. In other words, things are going to go sideways, but if you don't have a plan, you got nothing to go off of. Okay? So we've got a couple of answers that have come in. Jesse, thank you for being honest. We don't. Okay? Herman says half-ish. Antonio's got a thumbs up. Well done, Antonio. Well done. Okay? In fact, the majority of contractors don't ever have a plan. And so how can you expect things to work out the way that you want them to when you don't have a plan? Right? Rodney jumped in here a little late, says nope. Yep. So think about this for a minute, okay? And again, very high level. We don't have time to get into the details of things on this call, okay? But very high level. Michael, this is hilarious. Zach says, on paper, seldom. Michael says, does it count if it's in my head? No, but I like it though. Ricardo says, I track every job and have a process. Well done, my friend. Well done. Then Joe says, yes, but it most often gets changed. 100%, right? Joe, you're dead on. So here's the thing, right? Think about it as a sports team. Now, I don't care if you like soccer, if you like football, or if you like rugby. My son got into rugby, or any other type of sport. At the highest level, you will never succeed if you're just trying to wing it, right? If you just wake up in the morning, you're like, all right, here's all the pieces I got to juggle. Here we go, right? And you just start juggling. You will rarely succeed. It's not sustainable. It's not. So especially as you're starting to grow, and I'm going to tell you this from experience, the quicker you realize having a plan is your best friend, the easier it will be to grow your business, okay? Because think about it this way. For those of you who said in my head, Michael, for example, right? You're like, oh, I think I know what's going on, right? It's on my head. For those of you that have it in your head, think about it this way. What happens when you hire somebody? Or let's say you have a team and you were managing the projects, but then now you bring on a project manager. How does this translate to the rest of the team? It doesn't, which is what you most often create is that dependency. So you're like, my phone's blowing up all day. Yeah, well, it's not with clients. It's usually with somebody on a job site asking you what they should do next. Or even worse, this went sideways or this didn't work. What should we do? Right? And so you spend your time putting out fires instead of doing what you should be doing, which is helping your business grow. Does this make sense? Again, very high level, okay? Here's some practical things that you can do. Break your project up into those 3 phases that I talked about, okay? Planning, i.e. prior to the project, managing the project, and then finalizing the project, which is after you're done. What does planning entail? Just like I mentioned earlier when I was talking about our operations plan at the police department. What are we doing? How are we doing it? What role does everyone play in helping us get there? That's it. Those 3 questions, okay? What are we doing? How are we doing it? What role does everyone play in helping us get there? Now, in the how we're doing it, yes, that includes materials, so on and so forth, right? So those 3 things, you have to have a clear scope, okay? You have to have a clear understanding of what's happening and how it's happening and who's playing whatever role. Now, if it's just you and you're the service guy, or it's you and your assistant, that's great. Communicate it. Start practicing it. Write it down. Super simple. Talk to the homeowner. Hey, Mrs. Jones, just so you know, here's what we're going to do. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and diagnose. Do you need a new water heater or not? I don't know yet. We're going to diagnose it. Once we're done diagnosing, I'm going to come back out. I'm going to show you the results. And then we're going to determine what we're going to do next. How does that sound? Sounds great, right? So now you look like a rock star because you sound like you know what you're doing, okay? So that's the first thing, the prep phase. The next thing is managing the project itself, okay? So the project might have phases in it, okay? So there might be the demo phase, there might be the rough in, there might be the final, okay? Regardless of the phases, it's what's happening and when is it happening. In other words, the sequence of things happening. If you're a GC, it gets a little more complicated, but congratulations, you got the big license and you got the name on the side of your truck. That's what you signed up for, right? If you're a sub, depending on the complexity of the project, right? But ultimately, you're going to have phases. Your job as the business owner is to understand those phases and write them down, okay? What needs to happen in each of those phases? Let's go back to our water heater example, okay? You're replacing the water heater now. Mrs. Jones says she wants it replaced. Cool. What do you need to do first? You need to have the right materials. Okay, are there any fittings, right? The water heater itself, is it tankless? Is it a tank one? Like, what do you need? All the pieces that you need, okay? Is it you doing it by yourself? Is it one of your employees, right? Figure all that out. Then, how much time is this going to take to get it done? One of the biggest issues we have as contractors is thinking that we understand time, and we don't. Pretty bad at it, right? So if you think it's going to take an hour, give yourself an hour and a half or two. Surprise yourself by finishing in an hour and a half. Right? But ultimately, whoever the owner is, and let's say Mrs. Jones, she thinks it's going to take 2 hours. You finish in an hour and a half. Who looks like a rock star? You do. Conversely, you say it's going to take an hour. It takes you an hour and a half. See what I mean? Control time. Okay. And then the third thing is now making sure that everything got done the way that it was supposed to get done. Now, how many of you use checklists for your jobs? Okay. Checklists. Ricardo has morning meetings here. Yeah, we're going to talk about that here in a minute. Joe, I love this. 6 P's, proper planning prevents poor performance. Prior proper planning. There's actually 7. I love it though. Well done. And then Joe says, in business, you're either part of the solution or part of the problem, 100%. And as the owner, guess what? You got to own them both, the problem and the solution. So when you think about it, right, you have to be able to say, did we get done the thing that we said we were going to get done? And for some of you, it might be as simple as on a little notepad or in the notes section of your phone, hey, what are the 6 things I got to get done in order to make sure this project is complete? If you're a little more, we'll call it tech savvy and you've been in business longer, then you're probably using some type of CRM to keep track of the different aspects of the job and then who's in charge of what, right? If this is a multi-day, multi-month project, guess what? You're definitely probably latched on to some larger builder that's using, a large CRM that you probably have access to, that you need to update daily logs, pictures, so on and so forth, right? So you've got all of these things set up that are meant to help you what? Make sure you get the job done right, okay? Now, that's phase 2. Phase 3, now the final part of the project, finalizing it. 2 big things happen here. One is making sure that the client is satisfied with the work that you did. And number 2 is getting paid. Unfortunately, most of us as business owners want to go from I landed the project to I get paid. But we miss everything in the middle, right? So think about that, right? How do we get, Herman says task lists are awesome. 100% they're awesome. They're even more awesome when your people can follow them, right? So how do we get from I landed the project to the project is complete and I got paid? We're not going to talk about cash flow cycles and timelines, and sometimes people don't pay and sometimes it takes them a while to pay. Different conversation. We're just talking about managing your projects and controlling the things that we can control. How much more efficient and effective do you believe you would be as a business owner if you had a very simple process? What do you do prior to the job? What do you do during the job? And what do you do after the job, right? We all want more work. We all want to be more profitable. We want our teams to be more efficient. But what are we doing to actually make that happen? So here's my invitation to you. As a business owner, here's the invitation, okay? Take some time today. Not tomorrow, not next week, not over the weekend. You will forget about it. I know, because I'm like you. Take some time today, 15 minutes. Your next job, write out, what am I going to do prior to the job to make sure I'm prepped for it? What do I need to do during the job to make sure it goes right? What do I need to do after the job to make sure I get paid? That's it. Super simple. Now, for you service-based business owners who do a lot of repetitive tasks, water heaters, electric work, roofing, so on and so forth, this becomes a lot more simple. For you GCs, a little more complicated because now you have to include all the trades and you have timelines within timelines. But ultimately, your job to your ability, to manage jobs will determine if one of two things happens. You continue to grow as a business, or two, you stay exactly where you're at because you cap the business, all based on your ability to manage projects. All right, that's all we got for you. Actually, we do have a couple more things. The first thing is, a couple of you guys have been asking about version 2 of Contractor Plus. I know this personally. Justin and his team have been busting their balls to get this thing up and running. They've been working really hard. And so we're thinking by July, we should have Q2. We're saying July, Q2, right? Or excuse me, not Q2, version 2. My bad. Version 2, July. Okay. We'd love to have you guys be a part of some opportunities to test it out, which you will be, especially being a part of this community and this group. But ultimately, again, it's coming. But for now, there's nothing that's stopping you from what? From building the business that you need to. And it all starts with who? It all starts with you. Now, the other thing that we'd love for you to join us at is our new community that we're launching. And this community is all around helping you as a contractor build what it is that you need to grow, right? And so our community will be launching here in a few weeks. We're talking about managing projects. It's no different. We're managing our projects right now. We're going through and creating all the rest of our deliverables. But this community is going to have the opportunity for you to interact with other contractors, which you start to do a little bit inside of here, right? But it's interact with other contractors. We'll have our entire training library. I think at last check, we were at 57 videos. We'll have all of these past episodes. We'll have our monthly workshops. We'll have Mindset Mondays, right? These inside of here. We'll have the podcast. Everything is built to help you grow your business. So we'd love for you to join our pre-launch, right? There's an opportunity for you to be our one of our VIPs in our pre-launch. And I'm going to go ahead and drop the link here for you guys so you'll have it. But go ahead and sign up for our pre-launch. We've got a lot of cool giveaways happening, and you'll be able to be a part of that. Listen, end of the day, one bite at a time, right? One thing at a time. So if you're going to do anything this week other than sign up, the link is there on the screen, but it's also in the chats. Other than sign up, you're going to do one thing this week. Just create one simple checklist that you and your team can follow that will help make you more efficient in the jobs that you run. All right, that's all we got for you. Live and direct from outside. Appreciate you guys being here. Let's see if the horses made it. No, horses didn't make it today.